Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Everquest Old School. And on tonight's episode, I am playing my Shadow Knight, and he is over here in Unrest. I was thinking of Befallen because we were over there a few episodes back, but I am almost level 11, and that took maybe about 20-30 minutes to get most of that level over here. And the main reason behind that is Trike over here, the Druid. He's just, pulling all these creatures for us, and we're just able to sit here and pull one off of them and just get a lot of experience very, very quickly. It's really nice of him to do that, and I got to give him another shout out because for me, I have a higher level character, so that's one thing. But for these other guys, they don't have any of the high level characters. They're brand new to the game, so it's kind of cool to be a part of this, to kind of see their excitement when they come to places like this. If you guys watched the last video, you'll see in the chat one of them, actually several of them, were actually saying like, "Holy crap, there's a jack-o'-lantern," and they were getting excited about the different mobs, and it's cool because that brings me back to the days when I was brand new to the game and I was getting excited about seeing a zone for the very first time that was interesting looking, and this zone definitely is uh, interesting in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different weird creatures in here. This will be pretty much your first experience into grouping as what it will become later on. You'll get very used to what your roles are in a group, and you'll also get used to what camps will become because this zone has names in it, and it's one of the first zones that will have names that people will want to camp for the loot alone. Like if you go to um, what's is Crushbone, you will find places where people will sit to earn experience, but they don't necessarily sit there to earn loot. And because they're not earning loot, it's not really a named spot. You don't really get that feel for later on in the game where, yeah, you're gonna have spots where people sit for experience alone, but most of the time they're gonna be going after the good stuff, and that's gonna be the names. Names pose issues all, you know, unique to themselves. I mean, they are like night and day from one another sometimes. Some of them will cast, actual dots that will just wipe the floor with you. Other ones will cast, charms. There's some that if you kill right away, they don't get to cast their pet, and so that makes a big difference. And yeah, each one has its own unique style that you kind of have to learn how to get past and how to overcome, but they drop something really, really good for that level. Now, it may not be good for you. You may be there and you may kill that thing and be like, oh, this stuff, nobody wants this, right? Why are we here? Well, anytime there's a name that he drops loot, that loot's going to be worth something. It may only be worth 20, 30 plat, or it may be worth, 1,500 plat. You may not be able to use it, and nobody else may not be able to use it in your group, but you can random on it. You do the / random space one and then space and whatever number you want to random through. It could be a million, it could be 10 million, or 100. Usually 100 is what people usually do, and whoever wins gets the item. Now, usually they will specify, what you're going for. Some people will be random 1 through 100. The lowest wins, the highest wins, things of that sort. So there is a little bit of sometimes there's rules to it. So, most of the time, it's just whoever's the highest wins. If they don't specify, that's usually the way they're going with it. Unless you happen to join a group that has already talked about it and they just didn't let you know when they first got in. But it's kind of up to you to ask questions on stuff like that because loot's pretty important. I mean, even if you don't need the item, you could always use the cash. Platinum is a pretty big deal in this game when you're first starting out. You need to be able to buy your spells. You need to be able to buy food and water. You need to be able to buy pieces of armor to upgrade because, yeah, if you know where you're going, you can go to the right zones and get the right loot at the right time, and you don't really ever have to buy anything. But if you're brand new to the game, chances are you're going to go to a zone that gives you good experience. You're going to stay there for a while because you're getting good experience, and you're not really going to question it too much, even if you're not getting good loot. And at some point, your armor is going to be so low compared to what your level is that as a tank, you're not going to be able to actually tank the creatures very well without taking massive hits. As a healer, you're not going to be able to keep up with the heals because you just don't have the wisdom for your mana pool. The same thing goes for casters like Necros and Wizards. Like the loot makes a pretty big difference in this game. It's one of the important factors that you kind of have to go after. And unlike other games, and I'm thinking of like EverQuest 2, where it is right now, and I don't know where it will be in the future when you guys are watching this, but this is 2015 right now. So if you watch this years later, it may be even worse. It may have fixed it. Who knows? But right now, in that game, they have pieces of equipment that give you like 1,500. I've even seen one that goes as high as like 6,000 on like stamina. That's just one stat, and it does that for like 100 different stats. Like it just gives you everything on one piece of armor. The amount of stats you're getting on that one piece of armor is probably more stats than if you took an entire raid party of uber gear and added it all up wouldn't equal one of those pieces. So it's a little bit inflated. The creatures are tougher because you have better armor that is just so outrageous. I like it in this one where I get one extra AC. I see a difference. I mean, you can tell right off the bat that your guy's tanking so much better just because you got one extra AC. You get one extra wisdom. You can see, oh, I got a lot more power. I got four extra wisdom. I can actually cast an entire another spell that I couldn't do before. So instead of getting like 5 heals, which you will actually figure that out. You'll figure out that with your mana pool, you can do a total of 6 heals and that's it, and then you're out. You'll see a difference when you can do 7. Like that's a pretty big deal. I don't really like it when you have to get like 60,000 strength to see any difference on the screen, and the creatures die so quickly that you don't really even tell what's going on. Like I like a little bit of time to absorb what I see happening on the screen. And like with Diablo, I'm playing right now, Diablo 3. It's a beautiful game and it's a great game. I absolutely love that game, but there are times in that game where there's so much going on, you kind of lose track of what you're doing other than just click everywhere because there's so many mobs, and hit every button that you can possibly hit so that you can, get a little bit of damage in there before it all dies. And those games have their place, but it's also nice to have a game like this that kind of slows it down and lets you actually see what you're doing. And that's one of the reasons I like this game so much. It's one of the reasons that it sticks with me, is that it allows you to slow things down and see them from another perspective other than that really fast-paced gameplay that a lot of us have become accustomed to. If you watch videos or you play like games like Halo, Halo is a fantastic. I love playing Halo. I play that with my younger brother all the time. It's actually the go-to game that me and him play when we get together. And there's 5-6 Halos out there, and we'll pop one of them in there and we'll sit there and we'll play it all the way through to the from the beginning to the end. It's a fantastic game. Even with that said, the newer ones are very, very much fast-paced. There's a lot of action going on, a lot of things to kill. You don't really get to take your time like Thief Deadly Shadows. That's a game where you get to sneak through the shadows, you get to look at things, you get to see where the NPCs that you're watching will actually roam. Like what's their guard duty route? Like how do they go about that? Do they stop? Do they take a break? Do they talk to other people? And if they do, that's your time to strike. I like that. I like games like that. Doesn't necessarily mean the other ones are bad, because they're not. Like I said, I love Halo. I play a game called Firefall. It's a lot like Halo. It has that aspect to it that's very, very quick, very fast-paced, and it's pretty cool. But games that allow me to slow things down, holy crap. 4 of them, really? Jeez, man. Not the place to be standing out there. There we go. We got 1 down, so we just got 3 more to kill. And I would rather them attack me than my pet, because my pet just can't handle it. It is doing a little bit of damage, though. You can see that it's just kind of chilling over there and doing a little bit of DPS every so often, which, in this situation, your pet is actually worthwhile. But in pretty much any other situation, pet's not going to be worthwhile, and it's not going to work for you very much. If you go inside the house, you're probably going to need to get rid of your pet if you're going to be the healer, or not the healer, but the pooler. But out here, because you really never have to leave this corner, I could actually pull to us with my power, with my spells. I'm able to have that luxury of having just that extra little DPS. And when I say little, I mean little. The guy hits for like 1 or 2 points of damage a piece. That's when he actually hits. And most of the time he doesn't even hit. So yeah, it's not really doing you a whole lot to have that guy, but it can cause a whole lot of issues by having that guy. So let me pick this up and I will give it to my pet because I think that looks pretty cool. He does have a bronze weapon on right now. Yeah, that's why it's not switching because he's a bronze weapon on right now. So that one is just going to do more damage than any other weapon that anybody gives him because all the other ones are rusty. And let's see, Adamana, same. Yeah, so our healer is out of power. So definitely not a good time to pull. I was actually going to do that real quick, but yeah, I'll sit back down over here and let everybody rest up, get some more power for themselves. What is Lynch? Is he not wearing anything at all? Let me look at his armor because I do have a robe on me that he might be able to use. So let's do a toggle. If I can actually find the right letters in the dark. Toggle inspect on, and then I will go ahead and click on him. He's wearing a claw shirt. Really? That's what he's wearing? Oh well, we can fix that. We got to fix that. Okay, let me look in here real quick and see what I got for this guy. He doesn't have any rings on. Or he actually only has one ring on. So let's put that in there. I think he can wear that, right? Dark Elf? Yeah, Dark Elf can wear that. And he can wear a belt as well. So let's put that in there. And give him some new gear. He does have a face. Let's see. Shaman. No, so Necro is not on that list. So he can't even wear that. So we don't have to worry about that at all. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I did the same thing for a cleric earlier, and he was ecstatic about it too. That's why I'm really looking forward to doing that Christmas Day thing, and just going out there and giving stuff to the newbies. Because bronze may not blow up anybody's skirt nowadays on the higher levels, but for somebody just starting out, it means a whole lot. I remember when I first started out, some NPC, not NPC, some lady came by. I don't know if it was a real lady or not, but the character was female. She was called Mary Janes, and she gave me a full suit of bronze. Not good, but he's. Oh yeah, okay. So is there one here? Yeah, there sure is. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to pay attention to what's going on, and I leveled. Oh good, he's put clothes back on again. Okay, so he. I don't wonder why he took the clothes off. I thought he had something on earlier, but maybe he didn't. So now he has a robe on, and you get that robe over there in Befallen. So it's a really good place for casters to go. I got that while I was just running around on my own, so I like the area. Yeah, look at that, guys. White and green. And they're both with these little floating orbs. And he got some good stuff on him. Let's look at that. Let's see what he has there. He got the belt on. Okay, so he put everything on. Nice. He has what is this? A shimmering orb? Really? Wow. Somebody's been very nice to that guy. A shimmering orb. Oh, that's kind of nice too. So, yeah, some people have been nice to this guy as well. What kind of robe is he wearing? Green silken drape. I think that's pretty good, if I remember right. Okay, so he's pulling one over there. Let me see if I can pull one off of him. Go ahead and use my disease cloud right here. Man, I can't tell you guys how much I am enjoying playing my Shadow Knight finally. I absolutely love this class so much. Brings back so many memories that I cannot even go through with you guys on all the stuff that I used to do with this guy. I used to roam around and just look around. Like, if you guys watch me and Thum run around, Thum is really the one who gets me to go to new places with my cleric because I am so ingrained with my cleric to not risk it because you're not going to survive it. You're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die. You don't have feigned death. You don't run very fast. You're always overweight. It's pretty rough life as a cleric when you want to go off and explore. That's not the guy to do it with. With the Shadow Knight, on the other hand, he can do things that pretty much other classes will never even try because if he gets into trouble, he can feign death. He's good to go. Can just stand back up and try it again. He doesn't have to zone every time he makes a mistake. So he's able to do things that just allow him to go to places that are really dangerous, or he can run by creatures that he can't kill on his own and feign death in a corner that's nice and safe for him. When they go back to their body, he's already passed that doorway. It's kind of a little cheat. He didn't have to kill that guy to get by him. And he also has at later levels the ability to not only invis to undead, but to invis versus normal creatures. That's, the defector right there. Right? He can do everything that he needs to do. He can't have both of them on himself at the same time. If he casts both of them, because I mean, if you cast invis to undead, the moment you cast something else, you lose that invis. But if somebody else puts it on you, you can have invis to undead and invis at the same time. You just need two people to do that. But yeah, it's a great class to play. You can go off and check places out, and it really shines in Lower Guck, because Lower Guck has a living side and an undead side. I don't know any other class other than Necromancer who gets the ability to be undead to both people. And so those two classes really can go places in that zone very easily. And so they can move from group to group, whereas other people, when like if a group's sitting in a spot that takes people a certain amount of time to actually kill to get there, when they lose somebody, if somebody has to leave and they gate out and they're looking for somebody else, a lot of the time they will be like, well, if you can get down here to us, you're welcome to join us. But we're not going to fight the 30 minutes back up to the surface to pick you up for one person until it's a class that we absolutely need, like a healer or an enchanter or something to survive. We have to have that class, or a tank that they actually have to have for turning their backs to me. Yeah, but Necromancers and Shadow Knights, boom, they can just invis and get right there to them and join the group instantly. And so they're able to get into groups that other people just can't ever get into. And that opens up all sorts of doors. You can get into a group that's been established, they've been there for a little while. Maybe everybody who's there already has like the Swiss sewing evil eye bag because they've been there for a little while, and you show up and you instantly get it. I mean, you're just the next one on the list because you're the only one who can loot it because it's a lore item. And that's pretty cool to have that ability. And just you're not going to get to take advantage of it too much in this game, except in that zone. That zone's, you're really going to get to just go through so many places. I have so many fond memories of that place, and the amount of time that I spent there was insane. Because yeah, you're going to max your character out at 50 when that was the max, and that was one of two zones you could go to. You go to Soul B, or you could go to Lower Guck. That was really your only options. But because that was the end game and there was no other higher level place to go to, and of course you're capped out at 50, people stayed there. They're just trying to get better loot, trying to get a little bit more money, because they knew that another expansion was coming. They knew that better stuff was coming down the road. Or you want to go on raids, you need gear that will at least get you into a raid. And it's kind of one of the things that we haven't really talked about is raiding too much, because when you raid, it's like a step pyramid. Like, you have to progress with your armor to a certain point before you're even capable of taking on mobs in a raid. Like, you still have to be able to have a lot of people with you, because the mobs are going to be too hard for any one person to take on. But if your gear sucks so bad that the mob does one area effect spell and your resist are so low that everybody just wipes, then you're never going to be able to kill that mob. So it can be a little difficult for guilds who are just starting out to get that armor that will get their foot in the door, basically. But once you start getting a few people outfitted in raid gear, it makes it easier for everybody else, especially if the right people are outfitted in raid gear. And this is when you get into sticky situations on how do you hand out the loot. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions on this subject, guys. None of them are right, none of them are wrong. It really comes down to what your guild is trying to do and the people who are in it and the way they feel about it. Because some guilds will have it where something drops for a cleric, all the clerics get to random on it. Something drops for a warrior, all the warriors get to random on it, and whoever wins, wins. Other guilds who are very serious about raiding will say if something drops for a warrior and we have our main tank, the main tank for the entire raid, the guy that actually takes the hits for the fights that we're fighting, if he's outfitted better and he's able to take more hits, then we're able to take on stronger mobs and we're able to get better loot. It makes sense. It's definitely true. That is the case. If he's the best tank in the raid and everybody else is slightly worse than he is because he's getting all the good stuff all the time, then yeah, you definitely will be able to take on creatures that you normally wouldn't be able to. With that said, it also sucks to be that secondary tank or that third tank who sees all this great stuff dropping week after week after week and never getting any of it. Like that sucks really bad. So some guilds will have it where every raid that you show up to, sorry about that, guys. I had to cough there. But yeah, there's DKP points that they will give you for showing up. And every raid that you show up for, you will get more points. And they will decide like how many points you get per raid. So you may get 12 points per raid, and you can use those whenever you want. And the way most of the time you use those points is to bid on an item when it drops. So if you show up to say 2 raids and you get 12 apiece, at some point you're going to have 24. Well, say you're a warrior and a warrior item dropped. You've been there for, 6, 7 raids in a row. You have somewhere around 100 points. And a brand new warrior who just joined the guild shows up on his very first raid. And he wants that item too. He wants to be able to get that item. Well, the item drops and you say, I bid 13 points. Well, he only has 12 because this is his very first raid. Those are the points that he just earned. So you outbid him, you get the item. You can kind of see, though, where the problem lies is that if you're a brand new member to the raid, or to the guild, I should say, you're going to have people who have been there for a long time showing up to raid after raid who have hundreds of points to spend when something drops. You also have to keep in mind, though, that they have been there for countless raids and they've earned those points, and so they've helped the guild out more because you just kind of showed up. But it's not as even. Like you just, none of them really work out perfect. You're gonna have people who don't agree with one part of it to another part of it, and they want it to work this way or that way, and that's when you get into different guilds. Different guilds will run their guild differently based off of how they do the raids, if they even do the raids, and how they split out the loot. It's a really cool system that people have had to figure out for themselves, because it's not like in other games where you have like the little button that pops up and it says need or greed or decline or anything like that, and it automatically does the random for you. This one is really all up to the players. They get to decide for themselves how they dish out the loot. And sometimes you have to think about it ahead of time, because some of this loot is no trade, and once you pick it up, that's it. Like, you can't do anything else with that item. It's stuck on that character forever. So yeah, it's almost an honor system too in groups, because you can't lock an item. I remember plenty of times there would be well, I can't say plenty of times. There was a few times that somebody would be in a group killing a creature. Like the FBSS is a flowing black silk sash, guys, and it adds haste, and it was the only belt in the game for a very long time, only item in the game, I believe, for a very long time, that added haste. And every warrior, every rogue, everybody wanted it. Even if they didn't use it all the time, they wanted it in their back pocket just in case they were soloing or doing something. They wanted that item. The problem with that was it didn't drop very often, and it was really expensive if you were going to try to buy it. It was just a lot of freaking money. So what some people would do is they join the group, they get into it, and when the item dropped, they would immediately loot it. Right? It was like a ninja looting. The creature wouldn't even be dead yet. It'd be falling through the air, about to fall down, and they would loot the corpse and take the item and log off or gate out and run. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't stop it. You couldn't tell a GM and be like, "Oh, they stole our loot." Well, they were part of the raid, or they're part of the group, and technically, they were entitled to that. But the rules usually, came down like, well, you're supposed to share it. You're supposed to do that for each other because you're part of the group, and that's just the way it works on the server. But not everybody, abided by that. They kind of went off and did their own thing sometimes. And what would normally happen to that is the community at large would take care of those people. The people would spread that. Obviously, when that happened, people would freak out, and they'd be shouting it in the zone. They'd be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he took the loot and he did this and he did that, and the guy just took off." And people would hear about it, and they'd make a mental note. They write it down on a piece of paper, and whenever that guy was seen ever again, bad things happened to him, guys. He would get trained, and I'm doing the little bunny ears because you can't train people in this game. If you do it and they catch you doing it, you're gonna get banned. Period. But with that said, you can do it and say you didn't mean it, right? And if it's a different person every single time, they can't prove you're doing it on purpose. And so people would do that. It would be one person who would do it, and you'd be like, okay, he did it. Now I'm gonna wait 5 minutes, wait for him to get back here to his corpse because he died, and the moment he gets back over here, I'm gonna train half the zone and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I did that. You died again, haha. Move on, right? Because you just couldn't allow that to go on. Because if people were allowed to just loot stuff and run, it would get rid of every aspect of camping stuff. Like, why would you work together in a group if at any moment the first person to loot that named is going to get the stuff? That would suck. Like, nobody's going to want to stay in a group with somebody who just looted the item and didn't give them a chance to random on it. And if you can't stay in a group, you're not going to be able to kill the names. You can't kill the names. You can't do raids. And if you can't do raids, you're not going to really be able to do a whole lot of the in-game stuff that people really love doing. So you're basically kind of going in the face of what the game needs just to be able to work by doing what they were doing. And yeah, you had to put a stop to that. And so the community at large would kind of police themselves, and people like that would never get groups, and they would get trained, and nobody would sell to those people, and that would be the end of it. Like, people literally had to stop playing. They would just get rid of that character altogether and move on to another one. They did at some point, I think Station initiated something on there where you could actually see what the other characters were on somebody's account, so they couldn't just create another one and then go on and be another butthead and kind of take stuff from people by doing that. But they got rid of that, I believe, because people started like stalking other people, and the women on the game had kind of had it rough because this is primarily a game that was dominated by guys, and guys that were what's the right term that won't tick people off? It was guys that were kind of lonely, and I was definitely in that category. I was single at the time I was playing, and when a woman showed up, and I was young, when a woman showed up, it'd be like, oh yeah, there's a woman there, holy crap, right? And so they got hit on all the friggin' time. And some of these people did not know when enough was enough, and they would stalk these people, stalk these women, to the point where they would like find out what all their characters are named, and they would like just sit in the zone and be creepy about it. And it's just, no, it wasn't a good time at all for anybody. So they had to get rid of that aspect where you could actually see what the name of other people's characters were because of stuff like that. But ideally, that's what you kind of want to do. You want to be able to see if somebody has a character on an account where they're just being buttheads. Like if they're stealing stuff from people and groups, having that ability to see that was very, very cool at the time. But yeah, they kind of got rid of that because of other concerns that outweighed that issue. And I completely and totally understand it. I completely agree with it. Weighing those two options together, I'd rather figure it out each and every time they create a new account, a new character, or whatever the case may be, than have one woman harassed the entire time she's on. Because this is a game for everybody, not just for guys, but for everybody, and everybody deserves to come on here and play the game however they see fit and enjoy the game. And I say however you see fit because as long as you're following the rules that the server has laid out for you, if you want to be a troll and it's within the rules, go be a troll, man. I have no problem with that. Other than I'm gonna be the guy who goes after the troll. Like I like doing that. I've also been the troll, and I know what that's like. So I mean, there's different sides to it. I think the server is unique in the sense that everybody gets to decide every day that they get on what type of player they're going to be today, and it really changes things up. So there's not really any day that I can think of that was pretty much the same as every other day. The groups always were different. Sometimes you'd have a really good group and things would go really well, and other days pickup groups would suck so bad and you would end up losing more experience than you gained that day. You might actually lose more experience than you gained all week and just be sitting there begging for reses for the next like 6 hours to make sure you didn't lose it all permanently. Like that definitely was a thing. And I remember at some point actually logging out of my character on my Shadow Knight and logging into my cleric and then bringing him over to that zone. I couldn't res myself because I was on the same account, but I'd bring him over to that zone waiting for another cleric to show up. And while I was waiting there, I would res people because I'm there, right? And I'm making a little bit of money if I'm charging. Most of the time I didn't charge though because I felt bad because I knew what it was like for a Shadow Knight not to be able to get a res. Holy crap, why am I moving? You can stop now. Okay. There we go. No? Huh. It's doing its thing again. Okay, well, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and end the episode here. Again, if you do enjoy these videos, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe. Definitely helps grow the channel, and I greatly appreciate it. Also, make sure to leave those comments down below because I do want to hear back from you. I want to know what you guys think of the topics that I brought up, what you guys think of the game. How do you guys like the Shadow Knight? Because I absolutely love playing my Shadow Knight. And at some point, we're going to get into some really difficult groups. My concentration is going to wane. If you guys watch videos with me and Thum, you know when he's pulling, it's difficult for him to carry on a conversation because you have a lot of things going on that you have to be concerned with, and it's just not one of those things that's very easy to talk while you do that. So I either will have to let somebody else talk for a little while, or I will just record the footage and then go back and add voice to it because that will make it a little bit better and my groups won't die, and you get to see like the best experience of what a Shadow Knight actually is capable of doing because they have a lot of really cool features that I just can't wait to get into because they're just going to kick some serious butt. My Shadow Knight is fast becoming one of my favorite characters, other than my cleric. Obviously, my cleric is my number one. He definitely is. He's just so fantastic in what he does. But at some point, you do want to get up off of the ground and go off and explore some of the zone, and that's what the Shadow Knight really gets to do. But again, guys, I want to thank you all for watching, and until next time,